just like the review I just recorded, this figure is from the 2007 Transformers movie. This is the Ice Megatron. First thing I want to say about this figure, it's probably the most obscure and, in my opinion, coolest Megatron toy there is. So, they were thinking, alright, we gotta give him a Megatron toy. Well, you know, he turns into a crazy jet thing, so we have to include that, but let's see, when did he appear? He appeared when he was frozen, he appeared when he was fighting Optimus Prime, so, like, why don't we make an Optimus Prime versus Megatron figure in there? And someone was like, no. You know what? We should make a frozen one. Or at least a partially mid-throat, like, released but still kind of frozen one. And that's my guess as to how this figure was born. So, it is Megatron as he appeared in the first movie, but frozen, kind of. And there's multiple things that I'm questioning, that if that's frozen, then how does that even work? Like, this is just ice, and does this thing just float when it's melted? Yeah, there's some things that are confusing about this figure, but other than that, let's get into this figure. So first thing, like the Optimus Prime figure, he actually doesn't come with any accessories, but what you could consider his accessory is built onto his arm. This being, I'm just going to call this the fusion cannon, since that's all I can really guess as to what it's going to be, or what it is. So that's just attached to an extra hinge joint on his arm. And also, one thing I want to cover is his feet. They're spring-loaded, so they automatically want to go back down into the closed shape. So you have to have him standing quite well if you don't want him to go. Because these back parts of the feet are separate and they're not very sturdy to hold them up. And this front piece really likes to move backwards. So he likes to fall backwards a lot. So yeah, he has this fusion cannon, and it probably is the weirdest way to shoot it. There's no button. What you have to do is come to this silver piece, put your finger on the tip of it, and push back on the silver piece while hitting your finger on the actual thing that's shooting. I mean, you can do it without hitting your finger on it. But, I mean, it's still cool that they added a shooting thing. Another thing is, he has weird arm connections, so just plug that back on in. I actually flipped out when the first time that part popped off. So, he has these wings, you could say. Those are mainly for his vehicle mode, but yeah, he has wings. And so, I'm going to start at his feet. Already talked about his feet. So, he has these ice pieces that see this part. They move up to make room for that piece, but those are there. There's a very tight ratchet. This guy is pretty much all ratchets. Some are silent. Some are squeaky. Some are not even ratchets. That's a ratchet. That's a ratchet. This is just a rotation. This is just a bend. This is just a bend. So, another thing on this figure is these arms. So, this little black piece moves in and out. But there's this piece on the shoulder that moves to the arm. So, he also has posable finger. I really don't know. That kind of looks like a thumb on this hand, and then on this hand it just looks like another finger. So I really don't know. So, yeah, he's kind of short. Because here's the movie one, Optimus Prime. And I'd expect him to be the same size, but honestly, it's fine. So, to transform this guy, he doesn't take very much. So, first thing, I'm just going to go over a little special feature that it shows on the instructions that you can do. So what you're going to want to do is just pry this back piece off of him like that. And then just flip these down. This is like some special attack mode. And so, like I'll show you in the vehicle mode, pulling on this back piece makes it do that. So you can have Megatron just standing there, hitting his shoulders. Why that's really a thing you can do, I think they were just trying to say, oh, this figure can do more than it really can. So, it's actually a very nice Voyager class figure. Like, the Optimus Prime, I don't even think I said this in the review, it's very large for a Voyager class. It's almost as tall as my leader class Dark of the Moon Megatron. What am I thinking of? No, I don't think I'm thinking of... Oh, Blackout? Yeah, I think he's just about as tall as Blackout to head. So, yeah, this is Movie 1 Ice Megatron. So, into the transformation. Yay! Just gonna put this dart in. Here he is in vehicle mode. I did actually forget a step, and that is flipping these down. But, so this is Megatron's Ice Jet. Certainly an interesting vehicle mode. A vehicle mode that I am really excited for them to make a Studio Series figure of. So, first thing I want to say about this figure is there's not much to the transformation. Like, these are clearly the legs, but honestly, I think it kind of fits the fact that this is just such a crazy design. So, it has a few things. It says that one of the things you can do is pushing this down locks the wings into place, but they still move. And then another cool thing you can do is you can flip these up, and you can then flip these out, and this is what that mode that was weird in robot mode is actually meant for. Weird jet of death thing. Pretty cool. Now, I'm not going to transform any of my Megatron figures because that would just take way too long, and I'm not going to go through that because transforming that one Studio Series Optimus Prime basically didn't make me want to transform any Studio Series figures right now. So, yeah, here he is in jet mode. Probably one of my favorite vehicles for Megatron to become is just a flying vehicle. Other than that weird flying tank thing from Revenge of the Fallen, I'm just gonna call that a tank. Like the Revenge of the Fallen Megatron figure, that just is a tank. So, a few things that I'm kind of like, just because this figure has such a simplistic nature, it has a few things like that. They really didn't hide the head that much. You just gotta turn it that way and not really try. I mean, you can kind of bend it forward. That kind of helps, but really, there's just a head there. And again, I think it works in my mind. This seems normal, but the fact that literally the legs just do this, like he can still kind of stand with his weird springed toes, like, you know, that's a pretty good Megatron design. Like that's real good, guys. You should really add this to me. This is just such a weird design, but I love it. And again, how is this a thing? Wouldn't this ice... my take is that all the ice melts by the time of the final battle. So can he just not do anything? Like, is this just completely gone, or is it just levitating? And same with these. Like, I get that this figure is using the whole ice thing, but I think you could have, like, just gotten another piece of plastic, or at least painted some of this like it was part of the metal. But still, though, I do actually kind of like it more just visually, because light travels through it. So yeah, that's pretty cool. So here's the vehicle mode. Pretty nice. Now ready for some robot mode. One thing I forgot to mention was light piping. This figure and the Optimus Prime figure have really good light piping. Optimus Prime, just so you can see. Honestly, Optimus Prime looks much more sinister, has much more sinister looking light piping than Megatron does. So just because I just had this figure up here, here is Ice Megatron next to the Optimus Prime from the same year. Here is Ice Megatron next to Studio Series Revenge of the Fallen Megatron. And so looking at these figures, yeah, he's definitely got taller, but Studio Series, the arm is basically the same. And I'm looking at this one's weird mechanical mess of weird finger arm, and I'm thinking that it looks way better now after seeing this. I mean, it's good, but could be better. And here he is next to the Dark of the Moon Leader Class Megatron. And so, yeah, that's, I think, gonna do it for this review. Pretty good Megatron figure. I would recommend finding it on eBay. I think you can find it on eBay for fairly cheap. It's just with the instructions, that's going to be a hard thing. I actually found mine with the instructions as well as the... Sorry, there was just some technical difficulties, but so I found my Optimus Prime from the same seller doing a little double sale where they were selling these two together, both with the instructions. And so I would honestly recommend getting the Ice Megatron and this figure.